There's a turkey in your house, get him out. Get the turkey out, get him out of the house, get him out. There's a turkey in the house, get him out. Get the turkey out, get him out of the house, get him out. Get turkey out of the house. Get turkey out of the house, get him out. Get the turkey out, get him out. There's a rhino in the room, get him out. Get him out of the room, get the rhino out, get him out.
Hello everyone and welcome to PunkORama, the game where no one wins. I'm your co-host Justin Hensley.
And I'm your other co-host Dylan Hensley.
And this episode is going up the week of Thanksgiving. So hopefully everyone is having a good time with your family and friends. And seeing as there aren't really any Thanksgiving punk albums, this isn't really going to be a themed episode.
Yeah, there's not enough Thanksgiving-centric media, really.
No.
Like, not even, like, movies, because it's like, what? Planes, Trains, and Automobiles? Like, that's
the big one, right?
The one Thanksgiving movie. And then, like...
don't forget the first Spider-Man movie.
Right, that's what I was going to say. Like, people count Spider-Man just because there's a Thanksgiving scene in it. I mean, that movie doesn't take place in 1 month. It just happens to have a Thanksgiving scene. How did you say you got that scratch?
Bike Messenger. I mean, I guess we could talk about Bad Brains' Give Thanks and Praises. Or The Damned's Turkey Song, which I have no idea what that is.
You turkeys.
So I thought maybe we could do our own little liner notes thank you list that decorates so many punk albums. So I figure we could just say thank you to a few people even though we've only been around for a few months, who've helped us out in any way. So first there is Corey and Lauren for being our co-hosts on the Fest episode.
Yeah. Loyal listeners, thank you.
That was a lot of fun, and I think it's our most first week listens for an episode, which is pretty cool. And also we wanted to thank John at Headfirst Records for making our buttons for us that we gave out at Fest. If you need buttons done quickly and for a great rate, very affordable, hit up Headfirst Records because they do a great job. And
yeah, those buttons came out great. We got a handful of them.
Yeah, and I guess since Fest is over, if anyone would like a button, DM us on like Instagram or Twitter, PunkORama, and we'll get one out to you.
Yeah, we'll just throw one in the mail. It's a button.
Yeah, free of charge. And lastly, we wanted to thank the listeners because...
You don't have to pander.
Really, we wouldn't be doing the show if we had 0 listeners every week, so...
I don't know. We have done a lot for no audience in the past.
That is true.
Writing thousands of words, like massive lists and articles, albums, only maybe like a band sees. Like the band you're writing about sees it, and they're like, "Oh, cool."
Because they were searching their own name. Yeah, and even our band we played in.
Yeah, our hardcore band with no fan base.
Yeah.
the tapes that how many tapes did we actually get rid of?
Oh, I have no idea. I still have most of them.
Yeah, I've got like a stack of at least 5. I know I mailed one to someone.
Yeah, I did too. I don't...
Did Grant start like throwing those in like with other tapes?
I think he did.
Just to like offload.
Just to get rid of his copies. Yeah, we're needy. Please like us.
Some would say we're not needy. We're self-assured. We don't care about listeners and audience. We do our own thing, despite no one wanting it. It sucks, but they're committed. So,
if I didn't care, then why would I check the stats as often as I do? I don't know. This is fun for me, personally.
Yeah.
The only time it's not fun is when I'm on a crunch with time, and I'm like, oh shit, I still have to edit an episode, and we have to record one, and then we don't have any other time to record, so That's this week.
Yeah, I was saying you're just describing this week.
Yeah.
Well, do we want to jump in? Do we?
I guess we should.
Do we have any other inane chatter to throw at the top?
Unless you want me to go into detail of my stomach virus. Then I guess we'll get on with the show. So, we, as we discussed last week, we kind of cheated a little when we wound up with this year. We realized we hadn't done an episode from the current decade, so we plugged in 2010 to 2018 specifically into the random number generator. And so we wound up with the year 2013. And do I need to explain the process of the show, I guess?
If you're... Yeah. Are there any first-time listeners here? Yeah, I guess we should always include a little explanation.
Yeah. We should probably come up with a concise way of saying this so that we remember, so it's not a struggle to come up with what to say.
Yeah.
So normally, the basis of the show is we plug in the year 1976, the year of the first Ramones album, and 2018 into a number generator. We take that year and then go to Rate Your Music, enter the punk charts for rated by United States users, and then plug in the number of albums from that year into a number generator. And we talk about one EP and one album from that year.
Yeah, simple enough.
Yeah. So, we wound up with 2013 for this episode.
Banner year for punk rock.
Yeah. It's only, 5 years ago? But it's a weird list. And some of these albums feel way newer than, I don't know, I guess that's just 5 years ago really isn't that long ago in the scope of things. But
yeah, most of the bands are still really active. And yeah, it's 2013.
Well, number one on the list is the Dillinger Escape Plan's One of Us is the Killer, which is either their last or their second to last album.
It is their second to last album because the Disassociation with their last album came out in 2016.
Yeah. Oh, they only broke up in December of last year. So
I did not listen to that album.
No, I don't think I did either. I have a feeling the only reason why it's number one is because they're also a band that appeals to metalheads, so
yeah.
They probably got rated. I feel like metalheads, there are probably more metalheads on Rate Your Music than punks, so that's probably why it got so highly rated. Number two is Nails, Abandon All Life. That was the second Nails album. Nails are kind of like started that super sludgy grind sound that everybody is still playing, right?
Yeah, everybody's got that, I don't know, that sound that's like breaking glass. Just like super compressed and super distorted. And
Nails do it better than everyone who copies them, but
definitely, yeah.
But
yeah, it's not my favorite sound.
No, they're finished too, aren't they?
Wasn't Nails really just the one guy?
It was that Todd Jones dude, and he had a band, but yeah, he was like pretty much in charge of the entire thing, and I think he just made the band, dissolved it essentially.
Yeah,
not that long ago. After that third album. Number three is The Drones, I See Seaweed. They're like an Australian art punk band.
Yeah.
Who some of the members of that band now play in Tropical Fuckstorm, which is getting a lot of praise this year for their new album. It's not bad. I'd say it's half of a really good album, and the other half is just a little too artsy.
Yeah.
And I've listened to some Drones, and I did enjoy what I heard. It's just strange to see an Australian band so highly rated.
Drones.
In the States.
Yeah. Touche Amore is Survived By is number 4. Did you listen to that album? Because...
no.
I think I did.
Is that the last actual Screamo Touche Amore album?
I think it's like the bridge one, where it's kind of... They're starting to get softer, but he's still like yelling.
Yeah, which I think he still does.
Yeah.
But the music is not heavy anymore.
Yeah.
Not like Pianos Become the Teeth, who just turned into like a Christian rock band or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw Pianos Become the Teeth with Me Without You, and I was like, this is some weak shit.
Yeah.
Like, what did they turn into?
Scrolling down a little, there's The World is a Beautiful Place and I'm No Longer Afraid to Die, Whenever, If Ever.
Meh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. Wow. Number 9 is a Streetlight Manifesto album. How did that happen? I don't think I've even heard of that one. The Hands That Thieve?
I don't know.
Weird.
Not familiar with it. That's not a band I pay attention to, though, so
No.
I'm not too surprised there.
Oathbreaker, Eros, and Teros. That's a pretty cool Death Wish record.
We get a little... Yeah, I don't know. It's a... 2013's kind of all over the place, because, I mean, kind of keep going, and you get, like, MacTaverscan, the Scandinavian, like, post-punk band, Pup, their first album, which I'm surprised that's not rated higher, because I would say that's one of the best, if not the best album from that year.
Yeah, I would have to go back and look at, like, the list I made in 2013 myself,
Yeah.
but I do feel like Pup was in my, like, top 5, so I guess overall this probably should be the highest rated album.
There's a Wonder Years record.
God.
There's that Foxing album that I remember everyone really, like, talking a lot about. And
Yeah.
I
never listened to it.
That Beast Milk record everyone was really into, and that the last Comadre album came out that year. It came out like January of that year. So like everyone obviously immediately forgot it because it was released at the beginning of the year. I love that record.
Yeah. Captain We're Sinking. That was kind of like the breakout record for them.
Oh, that Reviver record came out. Beauty Between, the last LP.
Oh, shit. Number 43 is Iron Sheik's The Constant One.
Right.
I think that was my number 1 that year. Or it was maybe 1 or 2, but that's way too low.
As usual, we're seeing kind of the weird skewing of Rate Your Music charts. This is something we notice a lot. Oh, wow. Barrow is on the second page.
Whoa.
That was a solid record.
Yeah. That's kind of fun. Oh, look, there's This Routine Is Hell. They're on the second page. Our buddy put that record out in the States. Beach Fossils. That's an indie rock album. That's not even punk.
So 2013 is kind of like some weird post-hardcore stuff and kind of like the last gasp of like somewhat twinkly, like Midwestern-y emo. Is that?
Yeah, that's probably fair. And also kind of the last little push of the Latterman inspired punk rock that dominated Fist. I feel like it may be the last little push of that.
Yeah. So it's looking at those charts, it seems like the only things that are really still like a thing, like in terms of like general like punk sounds, is like that grindy hardcore, like Weekend Nachos and Dead in the Dirt and all that stuff. And then like I guess just general pop punk, which is evergreen. I mean,
well, and
that
also
stuff's never going to go anywhere.
That sort of post-punk thing that everybody's doing too, the Ice Age style, MacTaverscan. That tends to stay around a lot too. But
see, the My Shame Is True by Alkaline Trio came out that year too.
That was a good album too.
I liked that album. I liked that one more than the new one, actually.
Really? I like the new one better.
Yeah.
I like the bonus tracks on that EP better than...
Yeah, the Broken Wing EP is...
Yeah.
I don't know. So, how much do these charts reflect our selections for this year?
I don't feel like they do very well, right?
So our album of this episode was Save Ends. What's the name of the album?
Warm Hearts, Cold Hands.
Mm-hmm. that
number.
one is somewhat indicative of like maybe the style of pop punk.
Yeah, it was number 759 on the list, which is kind of low down there
Yeah, that is actually really low.
for a band like this. Yeah, I mean, this album. This is kind of a neat little fact. Both of the albums that we have on today's episode were released in November of 2013, and yeah, it was released November 12th, 2013 on Tiny Engines Records, an interesting label. They're a Boston-based band, and the lineup on this album is Christine Turio on vocals and guitar, Brendan Cahill on vocals and keys, Tom Ciesluk on guitar, and Sam Nashawati on bass, and Burton Wright on drums. I don't know why these names are so difficult for me to read. And the album was produced by Jay Moss, who has produced albums for Defeater and Transit and Verse, and this one's for me, and the Fake Boys. What did you think of this record?
It's the kind of record. Savins is the kind of band that I can never really get super into. Like it isn't bad. It's enjoyable, really. It's very easy for me to zone out on, though.
Yeah.
And I guess I was a little surprised. I didn't expect the vocals to be like quite so Get Up Kids.
Yeah, that was like the number one thing. The vocals by Brendan Cahill are straight up Matt Pryor, Get Up Kids vocals.
So that was unexpected to me. I didn't think that they were that kind of band, I guess.
Yeah. You don't see too many like Get Up Kids inspired bands really anymore. But even back then, did you? Back when they were
soundtrack? I don't know.
you think they were? I guess musically they are. Vocally they weren't so much, but
yeah, different kind of, slightly different tonality, I guess. Not as nasally.
Yeah, I saw them also compared to Saves the Day.
Right. Yeah.
Which maybe more like middle era Saves the Day, I guess. Not so much the earlier, faster songs. But one comparison I kept seeing was to Lemuria, and I was like, no. I think that's just sexism.
Yeah. Guy girl vocal dynamic.
Yeah.
That's
I
don't see that. I don't think she sounds like Sheena.
Not at all.
So
I thought she sounded,
and he doesn't sound like what's his name from Lemuria either.
Alex.
Yeah.
I thought she sounded a little like Marissa Bergquist from the Headlines and Chandeliers, and she was in Ergquist with Mikey Erg.
Yeah.
I thought that was a much closer,
similar quality of voice.
Yeah.
Time it takes another one without the strength to carry on. We believed in all these bigger things, hope for the good that has gone wrong.
The truth comes out in darkest times when all the cards are down. We played out all these other ways, hope for the good that has run out.
I've watched you pass another year without a turnaround.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm just saying that just because we saw Headlines at Fest, and that's the most recent thing I've heard like this. But yeah, it's not a Sheena voice at all.
Yeah. That's a silly comparison. That's people who the only female artist in punk that they listen to is Lemuria.
Yeah.
It's got a chick vocalist. It's got to sound like Lemuria.
I do appreciate that this album doesn't fall into the guy-girl dynamic that so many other bands like in this genre tend to have, where the guy has like a mopey I sing like this style to his voice.
Yeah.
Which is it's a thing, unfortunately. And weirdly, they sing way more than you want them to on the albums.
Yeah. The guy always has like a shitty voice, and he sings like at least half the record.
Yeah.
And the female vocalist is always like way better, and always a way better songwriter.
Yeah.
It's just like, ugh, let her write all the songs, sing them all.
And I feel like Brendan had more songs than Christine did on this album, unfortunately. I mean, his isn't terrible, but it's just more Get Up Kids, and
Yeah.
I like her voice more.
His voice and his music doesn't fall into that kind of like, well, you're clearly unqualified to be a band leader. Like, he could very easily front a band that just sounds like that, and they not have, another vocalist in the band.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of guy-girl band dynamics, the guy could not front their own band.
Yeah.
No one would give a shit.
Yeah.
So there is that. He is actually, Brendan does seem like a capable songwriter and a capable vocalist. So there's that to at least enjoy about it. But yeah, I did enjoy her voice more.
Yeah. Save Ends are like one of those bands that I think I found out about them like looking up bands who were playing Fest, and they turned into one of those always put them on my schedule bands, but I've never seen them once. So I'm like, I don't know how big their fan base is. I don't imagine it's too huge, because their last two albums came out on Black Numbers, which is a cool label, but they don't have much of a reach. I feel like I can't think of too many big bands that have ever been on that label. Like Typesetter is probably the biggest band I could think of off that label, and they're no longer on it. They've moved on. But.
Yeah. Save Ends is a band that I always knew was of quality, but just never really got into. And yeah, similar situation. I have definitely like always put them on my fest list and never watched them. I don't know. I mean, they do kind of play Fest every year, so they must have like a pretty good turnout for their Fest sets at least. Do they? Are they like really? Are they fairly active? I mean, as far as like touring and.
They put out an album last year. I don't know about touring. I don't know. I feel like they may not be like a full-on touring band, but they probably play a lot locally. I don't know. Let me see what their most recent stuff on Facebook shows them doing. Yeah, they have a show on Friday or Thursday. They're playing with Wilhelm Scream in December, so they're pretty active, but I don't know that they tour so much.
Yeah, I mean, we are nearing the end of the year and into the Christmas season, so it's not like a big touring time.
Yeah. One thing I noticed when I was looking up stuff about this band, I kept finding their name on Japanese websites. Like, apparently they have a decent Japanese following, because there's like a Japanese label that put their album out on CD over there, and I don't know, there's lots of web stores online from Japanese sites that show up in like the first page of results on Google.
Waterslide Records.
Yeah. So it's kind of funny. And as far as I know, they've never played Japan. Maybe they should get on that.
Yeah.
Well, what else is there to say about this record?
It's not bad.
Right. And I'd say it's even above mediocre. It's an enjoyable album. It just doesn't stand out.
Have you listened to any of their newer stuff, the album that they recently put out, or?
I listened to the EP that came out after, but I don't think I ever even listened to the full length. My impression was their sound is a little darker now. Like, not as poppy, but certainly still melodic. It's just more somber, I guess, is the way to describe it.
I mean, the album is called A Book About Bad Luck. A lot of these song titles are Bad News, Beautiful Trouble, Heavy Hearts, Hateful Kids, The Wraith I'm Running From. So it definitely seems like they made an effort to kind of go sadder.
Yeah, and it is a post-Trump album, too, so that may have had an effect on it as well.
The post-inauguration pop-punk depression. Everyone's kind of like either not doing anything or just like depressed and can't write anything positive.
Well, we keep talking about how 2018 has been such a weird year for music. And do you remember right after the election, everybody's like, well, at least we're going to get some good punk albums out of it.
Shut up.
I think everybody's too sad. I think that's why there haven't been that many like great punk albums, but there have been a lot of great like post-punk downbeat type albums.
Well, they're either doing like actual activism, or they're just and don't have time to make music, or they're just like, what's the point?
Yeah. Yeah, punk tends to be really strong when things are kind of going well. Take a look at, well, besides the initial punk boom that came out of frustration, but look at like the 90s punk boom.
Yeah, I mean, the post Vietnam 70s malaise like motivation for punk. If anything, it was like cynical weirdos and also like people who just wanted to make fun music.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say that the British definitely brought more of like the political angle to punk in the 70s. And
yeah, I mean, and that's why in America the main punk boom of the 80s is all hardcore music.
Yeah,
because it's angry, it's pissed off, and it's very political or like nonconformist. So so you don't get like, I think of it as 90s. That's where your pop punk boom happens. That was a time where everybody wasn't worried about things all the time. Then during the Bush era, there were a lot of punk albums, but they were real political and they weren't fun. And that's when you saw like heavy music kind of come back in the front. Like metalcore blew up during that, the early 2000s. And then, I mean, this is just a theory I'm working on right now as I'm going. And then once you get into say the Obama administration, that's when you have your Letterman style punk boom.
Yeah.
I
think that in general punk was better during the 8 years of the Obama administration than the 8 years of the Bush administration.
I'd agree.
I really can't think of very much significant punk music other than, like you said, heavier stuff, screamo and post-hardcore and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that stuff doesn't seem so much like, maybe not necessarily politically driven. I do think it maybe came as like a form of catharsis, like a post 9/11 kind of like. I mean, that was a dark decade. I mean, it just was. And so I don't know that maybe not all of those musicians were like actually intentionally using this music to process their frustration with war and the Bush administration, but I do think it was a cathartic response to the darkness of that decade.
Yeah, and And of course, you're gonna find examples of every type of punk in every year, regardless of what's going on socially. I'm looking at more like the bigger trends too, and the bigger trends: 80s was hardcore, 90s was pop punk, early 2000s was like post-hardcore, metalcore, late 2000s, early 2010s was pop punk and emo again, and now hardcore is back as like a big thing. The hardcore never really went away, but
Yeah, that and just kind of like
down tempo, like
Or
indie rock.
just like who cares, get high. I don't know. Kind of mentality of just like the emo kids that turned into pot smoking grunge revivalists. And then also kind of like a revival of the cynical, like postmodern, post-punk, where a lot of the music isn't really about anything. It's just kind of like, this is angular and weird. I don't.
Yeah.
So I guess what we're saying is, in 2018, we should cherish our save ends.
I guess
for being somewhat still poppy.
Yeah.
At least.
Well, what would you rate this album?
Like a 3.
Yeah, I gave it a 3.25.
Like I said, the style in general can be really easy to like lose focus on.
Mm-hmm.
So like in a way, it has it's an album that I could see putting on like a playlist of albums and just kind of finding myself listening to it a lot just by ignoring it.
It's not a very long album, because I listened to it last night fairly quickly, that was nice. Yeah, because I feel like if it was any longer, it would overstay its welcome, and then you would turn it off.
Yeah.
Whereas it wasn't an issue. It wasn't very difficult to get through.
Right. When I say it's something I would ignore, I mean that in like maybe the best way, in like the high fidelity. I just want something I can ignore.
Yeah.
Mentality. It's a good album you can put on as background music.
Didn't want to interrupt your sad bastard music.
Yeah, I haven't really absorbed that one. Oh, that's right. You didn't see the album cover. You just had the tape, I mean. We'll just finish out this episode reciting quotes from High Fidelity.
Yeah. Hey, that might be what our quotes are at the end of this episode.
Didn't
No, wait. We're doing Thanksgiving stuff. Well, let's move into our EP. This is a fun one.
This one's bad.
It's number 148 on the EP list. Which, what? 148? That's too high. It's Enter Shikari and their EP Rat Race.
To take away our expression is to impoverish our existence. Yeah, kick it. Yeah. As insatiable we're waiting for. So give us rock running apart. We're both sucked in the dark, and they give us rock fading away. We're both for a better day. So give us rock running apart. We're both sucked in the dark, and they give us rock fading away. We're both flourish, flourish. Now I'll fly, and we'll flourish. Sprinkling it off our minds, and we'll flourish. Now I'll fly. To take away our expression is to impoverish our existence.
My wife Katie and I have a running joke about the film Rat Race and whether or not I've seen it, because for some reason, like maybe when we first started dating, she repeatedly forgot that I had watched the movie Rat Race with her. And I don't know why she was referencing the film Rat Race so often. But she would ask, have you ever seen Rat Race? And I'm like, yes, I watched it with you. It was
You watched it with me too.
it was fine. John Lovitz was pretty good in it.
Yeah, he has the best part. The Barbie museum stuff's pretty funny.
So now, anytime I hear that phrase, I think of that. Like, have you seen Rat Race?
Oh, I've heard this Rat Race. And is this our first step into dubstep on this show?
First and only, I hope.
God.
Is it truly dubstep though? It doesn't really have the wobble
Well,
bass as much.
Not so much.
Definitely
the
feels
second
more
track,
industrial.
Radiate, the second track, that one feels the most dubsteppy. But then there's a remix of that track at the end of the EP, which has like an Aphex Twin, like breakbeat type thing.
Yeah.
Which was much better than the other one. So the opening track is called, I lost it. The Paddington. What is
Paddington
it?
the
The
Bear.
Paddington Frisk. And it's like a 1.5-minute song. And it kind of reminded me of their contemporaries in British post-hardcore, Reuben.
I wondered about that.
And I don't know if that's an accurate comparison or if it's because the first time I ever saw the name Enter Shikari was the same time I saw the name Reuben in an issue of Rock Sound magazine.
Rock sound.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's like actually what they sound like or if that's just me tying it mentally to them. But
I think the biggest similarity is just the distinctly British accent of the singers. Like, they very clearly sing with a British accent.
Yeah. They're from St. Albans, Hertfordshire in jolly old England.
Where is that?
Hertfordshire? I don't know. I don't know if that's Hertfordshire.
Hertfordshire is just north of London.
Okay, so that explains why they do have like a more London style accent. They don't have like Northern England accents or Welsh or anything like that.
They don't have a Manny accent, Manchester accent,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
a Sheffield Leeds accent.
They're, the lineup on this album is Rawton Rue Reynolds on vocals and synths, Chris Batten on bass, Liam Rory Clulo on guitar, and Rob Rolfe on drums.
Rob Rolfe.
Rob Rolfe. A lot of R's in this band. There's Rue, R-O-U. I don't know if it's Rue or Ro. Rory and Rob. And then Chris.
Or Rob or Russ. They couldn't decide on a name.
And it was produced by Dan Weller of the band Sixth.
Sixth?
Sixth. It's the Sixth band. Who produced a ton of their albums. And it was released on Ambush Reality, which is Enter Shikari's own record label. Which all of their albums were released under. Also, some were released. It was like released as Ambush Reality and Interscope, so they worked out some kind of like crazy deal where they got to keep their name on it. I guess maybe they produced it themselves and got distribution through bigger labels.
Yeah,
This is bad.
yeah, it's... So, like, I don't know enough about British hardcore to know, like, the full context of, like, where this sits and in terms of... I know that England has, like, a really... They seem to have a really active and very insular punk music scene. Like, very little of it makes it to the U.S., which is funny because they speak English. I mean, like,
there's no real barrier.
It's not
there.
It's not like, they're other European bands where they make the stylistic decision to sing in English because it'll make them more appealing internationally.
Yeah.
Because I feel like European bands that do that are more popular than British bands who already speak English.
Yeah, like, look at all, like, the British, like, or, like, the French or Belgian, like, heavy, like, hardcore screamo type bands, like Birds in a Row. They sing in English, yet they're screaming their words, so it really doesn't even matter what they sing in.
Yeah.
We can't understand you either way. So, yet, weirdly, they're more popular than the... I guess that shows you that in hardcore, it doesn't really matter what they're singing, too.
Yeah. It's... I don't know, so I don't know what the English, like, what the trends are, what what the current sound is, or what the sound was then in 2013 when this EP came out. Like I lack a real, like, you mentioned rock sound. That was probably like our only glimpse into British punk.
Yeah. Gallows.
Yeah.
Gallows they were huge in the States, and which meant they were massive in England.
Yeah. Is Gallows like their anti-flag? Just like no one actually likes them. It's just like,
Well, I don't know, because now they've got our American Canadian lead singer, Alexis on Fire member as a singer at Gallows, and
oh yeah,
right, Alexis on Fire Canadian.
yeah.
And yes, now he's the singer of Gallows, or I don't even know if Gallows are still a band anymore, but
He was for a minute there, I guess.
yeah. And that dude had his own band. The guy who was the singer Gallows.
Yeah, I feel like the only British punk stuff that we're aware of are like the fest style British punk bands, and I don't think that that's indicative of British punk in general.
No, not really.
I think those bands are just able to make the trip to fest because they play a style of punk that's already associated with fest.
Yeah. Well, let's look at, we can in Rate Your Music actually limit where the bands are from when we do the charts. So let's limit the artists from the United Kingdom for 2013 in punk. And see what else was going on around at that time. If this would ever load. 503, server too busy.
Okay, so
There you go. Wow, I cut it down to 4 pages.
New Model Army,
Mm-hmm.
Future of the Left. So that's some post-hardcore noise rock. Arcane Roots,
That's alternative rock.
Crash of Rhinos is
Savage.
British.
I did not know that. There's a Wire album.
There's a Franz Ferdinand album. So
The Fall.
yeah,
Doom.
Bring Me the Horizon.
Bring Me the Horizon. They're British.
So
Night
Night
Harvest.
Harvest.
Remember
Yeah,
when
that
they
was
were?
one. That's one I recognize.
Funeral for a Friend. Caves. Yeah, they're like a fest punk band.
And then it looks like there's a lot of metalcore.
Yeah. Now I'm just getting into bands I've never heard
So
of.
many bands I've never ever heard of.
Snuff. Great Cynics. They're a fest band too.
The Death Pedals. I remember that band. They were a pretty good band. I enjoyed that album.
UK Sobs. So it doesn't even seem like the Murder Burgers from Scotland. Pariso, they were like a mathcore band. They were pretty good.
Sham 69. Yeah. I don't know.
So they don't even seem... Shikari doesn't even seem like they were much like their contemporaries
Yeah, they
either. Like Bring Me the Horizon would probably be their closest.
kind of had their own thing, I guess.
Yeah.
Which is odd. It's not a good thing.
No. It's bad.
Yeah.
It's...
This is outrageous. It's contagious.
It's just bad electronic music spliced over top of bad metalcore.
Yeah. It really is both. Like bad
Yeah.
on both fronts. Yeah, it's... I wonder what their shows are like.
I bet
Oh, I bet it's
Super-
awful.
Super Scene Kid. I bet they're still like doing their hair and crazy like
Man, I bet they're like... But like, they're also like rolling E the whole time.
oh no. Oh, they have at least a moment where they do just like a straight up electronic music like segment of the show. They probably end each set with like a mini dance rave or something.
Yeah.
What do they look like? Well, they just look like a bunch of blokes.
Yeah.
One guy looks like Liev Schreiber.
Yeah. He does. This one guy's wearing like a blazer and a tie and like a shirt with a different colored collar, and he's got like a
his hair's in, like-
mohawk mullet thing.
Like in a what is that? It's like shaved on the side, spiked up on top, mullet.
I'm guessing he's the vocalist. He's in the front in all their pictures.
And those two normal ass dudes in the band.
Yeah.
So I don't know what their audience is going to look like.
Yeah, I don't know. See, I get the feeling that Enter Shikari is now maybe more like... Yeah. They're almost more like just an alternative band.
Yeah.
I mean, so I think that their audience is probably just like shitty dudes.
Probably.
Just like
I imagine
dudes who
the
work out
the
too
audience-
much and have terrible taste in like everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I imagine they're going to one of their shows is probably a lot like going to a fucking like a Linkin Park show 3 years ago.
Yeah.
or a Breaking Benjamin concert or a 21 Pilots show.
Right. Yeah.
Because I think Enter Shikari is like a charting band. Like whenever their music comes out, they make Kerrang gave them all sorts of awards, so that gives you legitimacy of Kerrang.
Yeah, I think they play like pretty decent sized music festivals in England and Europe in general, and
Yeah, their first album was certified gold, and 2 after that are certified silver.
yeah. Yeah, I think that Enter Shikari maybe like represents the level to which screamo and post-hardcore in the United States almost reached, like in terms of like mainstream status. Like I think that I mean, hell, they probably don't even scream anymore. We'd have to like actually listen to some of their current music to know. I would not be surprised if they don't, but
Well, they released a song in 2018 called "Take My Country Back," and I'm really hoping that's not a
Yikes.
pro-Brexit. I'm hoping they mean take it away from the Brexiters.
yeah. Woof.
Let's find out. Enter Shikari, "Take My Country Back."
Brexit.
Okay, the first line is "Don't want to take my country back. I want to take my country forward." So, okay. It's an anti-Brexit song. So, got a little word there.
We're not talking about a British nationalist.
They're a band who's had like #1 songs on the UK rock charts. So,
Well, I'm watching a video of them from 2018. So it seems like they probably still scream a little bit. I think they're a little more singy though.
they did a song with Big Narsty, who is like a British rapper, in 2017. Interesting.
But yeah, you know what?
Yeah, it is.
You know what I mean though. Like there were those like cusp years, like stuff like
When you heard like a "Bullet for My Valentine" song on the radio,
right, and you're like, whoa, weird. What's that doing on 106.5 The End?
or "Bless the Fall."
Yeah. and it just didn't quite go all the way. Like,
Right.
I mean, that stuff still, sells out huge, Live Nation venues. It's
Right.
just not. It's not mainstream. It's still not totally mainstream alternative.
Yeah.
It still is slightly an alternative to the alternative, but
Yeah.
I don't remember the last time I actually listened to an alternative radio station. So
So it's kind of weird around here, at least. It's been a while since I've listened to one too, but the last time I remember checking in, they were playing shit like the Lumineers and Mumford and Sons.
yeah,
It's like, oh, so this is alternative
that was
now, huh?
that was the last trend I noticed. The adult contemporary stomp clap
Yeah.
acoustic folk music
Yeah.
was the
Of
alternative.
Monsters and Men.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
And then 21 Pilots, I think, took over.
yeah, that's probably the most current alternative band I can think of that I've heard.
Oh, now you got me curious. Let's
Because
see
when I
what-
skim
what
the
a six-
radio around Phoenix, like I feel like I don't get any alternative radio. Like the only rock music I hear is like classic rock, and like I hear a lot of 80s pop and rock in general, and country,
Okay.
Christian music, and Mexican music.
Well, yeah, you're definitely going to have more of those there in Arizona. So, here, just out of curiosity, you piqued my interest to see what 106.5 The End, our local alternative radio station in my part of North Carolina, is.
Well, not
the
local,
most recent
it's a
song
clear
they
channel.
Well, I mean, broadcast locally from Charlotte. You drive so many 100 miles away, you won't be able to pick it up anymore. The most recent song they played was Linkin Park's "In the End," which is off of Hybrid Theory, the first Linkin Park album.
Yeah.
Oh, right before that was New Radicals' "You Get What You Give." Okay, here's a recent band. Panic at the Disco's "High Hopes." Because for some reason, Panic at the Disco is back
Yeah.
and very
And
popular.
very popular. Yeah. That blew my mind.
Children love Panic at the Disco now.
Yeah, there's the coffee shop that I work at in Scottsdale is very close to like a middle school, well, and a high school too. So a lot of those kids will come in the afternoon and get like smoothies or just sit there and wait for their parents to come pick them up. And I've seen kids wearing like Panic at the Disco t-shirts, and I'm like, holy shit, that came out that band started when I was in high school. Why are middle schoolers in 2018 wearing Panic at the Disco t-shirts?
Well, my roommate's kid and my wife's niece both love Panic at the Disco, and they're like 12 and 13 each.
Yeah.
Like, how did you find them? And it's because of the radio, I guess. Though, are kids listening to the radio? It's all YouTube now. Let's see, there's Cage the Elephant, Mumford & Son, Young the Giant, 21 Pilots. So that's like some of the most recent. Chainsmokers and Coldplay. What?
Yep. Yeah.
Hey, there's Rise Against. There's our... Okay, let's talk about this for a second. How did Rise Against become a radio rock band?
Well, they sound like it.
I mean, not really. Maybe like a 1998 radio rock band. I don't know, it's just weird.
Good manager, I don't know.
Shit, they played another Panic at the Disco song in the last hour. So that shows you how big... What? The Mighty Mighty Boss Tones, the impression that I get. This station is so weird.
And here's a throwback for all those old head ska fans.
Because there never became... So, like, the alternative stations, when they went to start playing newer music, they never created a separate market. So the people who were listening to it when that station was new still want to hear those songs, but they never created a separate station.
Yeah, it is.
That plays those songs.
It is so weird. And maybe this is more true of the Southeast. But it is so weird to me that late 80s and 90s alternative music had continued to be played and coexists to this day with modern alternative bands. Like, it didn't divert into its own classification of, like, you have your classic rock, you have your 90s alternative, and then you have your mainstream modern alternative. Mm-hmm. There are maybe some classic rock stations that have started to pick up some of the later 80s and early 90s stuff.
Yeah, like I've heard Nirvana and like Stone Temple Pilots on classic rock stations.
But they also still play Nirvana and Stone Temple Pilots on
the modern rock station.
The 21 Pilots and
yeah, it's so weird.
Foster the People station. And who is that music fan? Like, who is that rock music fan that listens to everything mainstream rock radio from 1988 to 2018?
I don't know.
Why didn't the mid-2000s, why didn't punk and hardcore become the alternative? Like, the mainstream alternative?
I don't know, because that was the direction it was going. Because there were a shitload of like pop punk songs on the radio in the 90s. Like,
why didn't... Because there was definitely, like Fall Out Boy and Hawthorne Heights and stuff like that got radio play, like alternative radio play, but it didn't. Mm-hmm. It didn't replace post grunge.
No,
the way that it should have.
Well, now I feel like post grunge has been replaced, but it's with
pumped up kicks and
weird like
and rap rock.
311 replicants, like people who grew up on
the most insidious of replicants.
Grew up on the first Linkin Park album, Cage the Elephant and Young the Giant. Is that what they sound like? I don't even know.
It's a weird thing. I don't get it. And maybe it's just maybe it is more of a southeastern thing. I don't know, maybe the northeast and has or had a stronger like alternative music radio, or maybe radio is just purely for those people stuck in the 90s who also still want to consider themselves young even though they're 40.
I mean, I don't listen to the radio.
Yeah, right, because it was the same crap over and over again.
Yeah, I don't need to hear Lit's My Own Worst Enemy again.
Yeah.
You can always tell we don't have a lot to talk about on the albums when we get off on these very long tangents about unrelated things.
Yeah. Sorry.
Well, what would you give this Enter Shikari record?
Man.
What did I say? I said a 2.75,
Yeah.
which seems a little high. I think I should go down to a 2.5.
Yeah, I was going to say 2.5 because I was actively annoyed listening to this. I did not listen to that remix track. Like I heard the beginning of it and I'm like, ugh. I hated the first version of that. I don't want to hear that again.
Cool.
Well, what are we doing next time?
All right. So, next time, we got the year 2000.
The year 2000.
Which is pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, we haven't. That's another little like pocket of punk that we haven't really touched on yet. We did the late aughts. We haven't touched the early aughts.
We did 06. We did 06, the Run Kid Run for the Mathematics, and we did 07 with the Gaslight Anthem.
Yeah.
We haven't done 2000, like early 2000s. Yeah. So this isn't going to get us any more listeners either. But we got number 529 on the albums list and got the band Born Blind and their album One for All. And do you remember what the EP is?
No.
It's number 175 on the EP list. It's Kill the Man Who Questions, and the EP is Pigeon English.
So two little flavors of hardcore on the next episode.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting to talk about. We've got some Christian hardcore, and then we've got some like very political, fast.
Yeah, Philly punk hardcore.
So that'll be. I think we'll have more to talk about there than we did with this episode, but that's what we get for cheating.
Yeah,
we forced it.
Yeah. Well, here's why we decided to cheat, because when I pulled the numbers, I got the year 1977, and I'm tired of doing 70s albums for the moment. I mean, we've done so many of them already.
Yeah.
The Halloween month had a couple different albums from the 70s in it.
Yeah.
So. All right, then. So please follow us on Instagram and Twitter at PunkORama. Our website is punkoRama.simplecast.fm. Our email is punkoRama@gmail.com. Send us a line. Tell us what you think. Let us know that you're out there.
And
I mean, I know you're out there because you're listening, but tell us what you like, what you don't like. If you think it's bullshit that we cheated on this episode, then call us out. And I guess please rate, review, and subscribe. We're on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play. And hopefully everybody has a good Thanksgiving.
yeah, enjoy some, dinner of some sort the day of Thanksgiving, perhaps with loved ones, not, maybe not necessarily family, but
At least with people you like.
yeah. I'm going to Utah with my wife. I'm just going to be alone on Thanksgiving.
Just exploring.
I'm going to go see some national parks. So that's our Thanksgiving.
Nice. Well, my Thanksgiving may include me working for 10 hours, so we'll find out in a day or so.
So yeah,
And
I guess we'll see you next week. We'll,
Yep.
we haven't come up with any sort of Christmas plan, have we? We don't have anything.
Not really.
Seasonally appropriate.
We might just, I don't know. We might just do the show as normal. And our bumpers will be our Christmas celebration.
Yeah.
We'll do Christmas
We
music
don't have
and
Christmassy dressing, but
outros. Like any good Christmas sitcom episode, that's it has its own story, but it just so happens to occur during Christmas. And you'll know by like Jingle Bells or something
yeah.
placed over Jawbox.
Yeah, just do the sitcom thing where you take the normal bumper music and just ching, 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 add some jingle bells to it. We'll rate, review, subscribe, follow, email us, tell us we suck, whatever.
All right. I'm cutting this off now. We're done. All right. Cue the outro clip.
Bobby, in honor of your first carving, we're going to fry up one of the turkeys this year.
Dad, that is no way to celebrate the rape of the Native Americans for 350 years.
Bobby, don't use the word rape. It's not polite.
I don't know how else to describe this idiotic ritual. Dad, you and your white people stole hundreds of thousands of acres from John Redcorn, and now you celebrate by frying a turkey? When does the killing end?
What the?
Hank, you're terrible.
I am not.
Just give him his land back, Hank.